We have got 14 games on tonight's main slate for MLB DFS, meaning there is a lot to break down, a lot of pitchers we can consider, at least 5, who I would say are what I would deem to be viable, a lot of good stacks, some solid one-offs too, bad teams, but good players in good matchups. So let's get you set for Tuesday night's slate of MLB DFS. This is the FanDuel Fantasy Q&A right here on the YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter channels for FanDuel. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberFire.com, here to take your questions live on air for the next half an hour to get you set for tonight's slate of MLB DFS. But first, a quick scheduling note because the Northern Trust was pushed back to Monday. No PGA Q&A today. Brandon will have the Q&A for tomorrow, talking PGA for the BMW Championship. We'll also have our Heat Check Fantasy podcast for PGA DFS tomorrow at 11 on the FanDuel YouTube page. So make sure you check that out by subscribing to the FanDuel YouTube page. Swing by tomorrow, Wednesday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter pages, and we'll get you set for that week's slate of PGA DFS. And also, Brandon will talk some betting as well. Let's start out the questions here for this Tuesday slate by talking to John over on YouTube. John is asking, how would you stack Atlanta tonight? Atlanta is facing off with, I believe, Andrew Heaney. Yes, Andrew Heaney. Okay, so they're facing a lefty, and I think the Braves are a team we can feel pretty confident in versus lefties because they've got a lot of boppers. Like, they're not a great overall team because they do have some imperfections in those boppers, but they can go yard, and we definitely do want that upside as always. Let's see if the Braves lineup is in here yet. It indeed is. So to me, all these guys are in play. And I'm probably not going to get to Jock, lefty on lefty, batting eighth in front of a pitcher in National League Park. That's kind of concerning, but any of these guys outside of that would work. To me, Ozzie Albies probably deserves to be number one. I think that he's an underrated power hitter, just a good overall hitter too, especially against lefties. Albies has really nice upside. So I'd say Albies probably has to be number one. Jorge Soler has been a bit undersalaried recently, so I'm probably going to wind up ranking him number 2, Freddie Freeman number 3. Last time that they were facing a lefty in a really good spot for stacking, Freeman, it was a lefty on lefty match, but Freeman hit for the cycle. So we can't put him too low on this list. So to me, Albies 1, let's go with Jorge Soler 2. Let's go with Freddie Freeman 3. It is going to be tough to stack them just because I do want to try to find a way to spend up a hitter, or a pitcher, I should say, and they are super high salary. But there are some lower salary guys there. So I'd say Albies 1, Soler 2, Freeman 3. And then do I want to go Dansby, Darno, Duvall, or Riley? Usually I might be inclined to take the discount on someone like Duvall or Darno, but like it's not that big of a discount. Swanson's $3,800. That's not a massive gap down. So let's pull up the numbers here versus lefties for these guys. Swanson a 224 ISO, Duvall 207, and Darno small sample because he's been out for a lot of time, but does have good numbers against lefties as small samples. To me, I'm going to go with Swanson and then probably Riley. I know the ISO is not super high there, but he's a good hitter. I would not expect the numbers to stay that low for Riley versus lefties. So Swanson, then Riley, then Duvall, then Darno. So really good options for today. They're pretty risky because Heaney does get strikeouts and can't have good games. So I don't think the Braves are a high floor stack, but they're a good stack for in terms of ceiling because they can absolutely go yard for sure. Let's talk to Kyle on YouTube. Is there a value stack you like enough to you say I can get a solid Boston stack? If you're trying to stack Boston with Corbin Burns, probably not, just because he's super high salaried. They have nothing in terms of value, so I'm not sure I can find you a value stack that's going to be good enough to get you there. Maybe you could consider the Nationals in terms of that because they're facing Jesus Luzardo, really struggling, and there are at least like viable dudes there. So like Carter Kieboom, Ryan Zimmerman, Lane Thomas. Thomas, I would rather not go there. I know his minimum salary, batting leadoff, so maybe we can just, let's put Kieboom at third base. Let's put Lane in the outfield, and let's put Zimmerman at first base. Those are at least like not terrible dudes. So if we go to 3-player national stack and then go back over here and sort by salary again, let's put Burns in there. Once we do that, we're at 3240 left. That's probably not enough to stack the Red Sox. You're going to need like one more value play to make that one work. So maybe we go with like an Orioles one off here. Austin Hayes is batting 5th. Ramon Arias is batting 6th. Those could be potential considerations. So maybe you go with like a 3-player national stack with these 3 guys. It does mean you're missing out on Soto, which kind of stinks, but like maybe you can consider that. But overall, Kyle, I think that if you're going to stack the Nationals with Burns, it's going to be tough. Or stack the Red Sox with Burns, it'll be tough. But I think that like maybe some Nationals one-offs in there. I think the Orioles are a good value stack in general. Might not be enough to get you to the Red Sox, but they're a team I do like in terms of value. Savon is asking, how would you stack the Giants for tonight? I think that they're interesting, I would say. I know, Savon, you were asking about them earlier today on Twitter as well. And when you look at them here, they do, I would say they at least get my attention. They're facing Tyler McGill. I think he's a pretty good pitcher, but he doesn't have the biggest strikeout rate, lets up some balls in play, and the balls in play have been well struck. This is in a pretty small sample. It's 4 starts with increased movement. So, take that for what it means, for what it is. But let's pull up McGill's numbers here and see what he's been doing recently in terms of the results in that 4-start sample. Did face the Giants just last week, so a sample of this exact same matchup. Now the game goes to New York, so a park factor upgrade for the Giants. McGill did pretty well against them there. Let's see what the batted ball profile looked like. A lot of hard contact with 10 hard hit balls. Okay, so I think the Giants could work there. Let's pull up their lineup and see what that looks like for today. No lineup yet, or at least not last time I refreshed, but I think it's pretty much the normal dudes. Brandon Belt's in a pretty massive slump right now, but he's still hitting the ball pretty hard, so I don't really have too many reservations, but using it, I would say let's put Crawford in there. Let's put Belt in there. And I feel like that's a starting point for me, is building around those 2 guys. Alex Dickerson has still been leaving games early due to pinch hitters and stuff like that. I'm concerned about him. If you're going to pick like a lower salary guy in the Giants, I prefer Tommy LaStella. LaStella may bat a bit lower in the order because he hit at 9th, I believe, yesterday against a righty. So he may not be as high in the order as Dickerson, but I think he has a better shot of sticking in the game longer. So I would say LaStella over Dickerson, depending what the lineup looks like. And if LaStella bats second, I think that is, kind of arrows up there. And then if we're going to choose between the other guys, salary considered, to probably go Wade. But I think that's probably where I'd wind up for today. So I think that Belt and Crawford are kind of the building blocks here for you, Savon. Let's talk to Rudney. Do you like the Mets power bats tonight? Mets are facing off against Sammy Long. So let's Sammy Long, not a guy I'd expect to go super long in the game, despite the fact his last name is Long. He's still stretching out. I'm projecting probably about 60 or so pitches for Sammy Long in this one. And that means that because he's not fully stretched out, we can still kind of look at his numbers in the bullpen this year and look at what he's done in the minor leagues. You see the bat projection here, a 4.34 ERA for him. That's what they project. Zip's a bit less optimistic, but in the lower levels, Long did get a lot of strikeouts. So I feel like the Mets are okay. I just don't feel super drawn towards them because they're not a super powerful team in general. I know they have individual guys who you're probably asking about the Rudney as like being options, but I think with the strikeouts Long can get, with the fact that he's probably not going to go super deep in the game and can thus throw pretty hard, I think the Mets are a little bit lower on my list. Let's talk to Salvatore. How can we pivot away from the Angels, who are sure to be very popular? So I think that the Angels and the Red Sox are probably going to be like the chalk for tonight. So I would say Orioles are a good stack for me. I don't think people will want to stack them because people just don't like stacking the Orioles all that much. So I'd say that they are a place you could turn to. That's probably the main one for me as being a way to get off them. I would say, though, that like not every high salary player can be super popular. So I think that if you're concerned about roster rates, especially on a 14-game slate, I would just focus on the Red Sox as being like kind of the runaway. I think the Angels, to me, less concerning because I'd bet that the Red Sox do generate more optimism. That is going to draw away from Ohtani at least because they'll probably want to spend it up for the Red Sox. So I'm not as concerned about roster rates in the Angels as I am with the Red Sox for today. Let's talk to Clint. Thoughts on Morgan versus Texas? I know that Jerry also asked about Morgan over on Facebook as well. So let's talk about Eli Morgan here. Personally, I'm not super interested because I know it's a great matchup. And he's not a terrible pitcher, but like the numbers overall this year, super underwhelming. The contact profile against him, also super underwhelming. Not a big strikeout pitcher. I know $6,800 I think is the salary, but if I'm going to spend down, I'd rather do it for Luis Garcia against the Royals because like he gets strikeouts. He's not going to go super deep into games, but like neither is Morgan. Morgan's pitch count over his past 5 games, maxing out at 92. So the concern you have with Garcia is also applicable to Morgan. I know it's a good matchup, but matchups can only do so much for me. So I think I'm okay missing out on Morgan if he does do well. And I've seen some discussion about him elsewhere. So I would expect him to carry some roster rate, and I'm okay missing out for today if he does do well. If he does do well, fine. That's okay. I'm okay being wrong on that one. DJ, how long do you think Tanner Houck would go? That's a good question because I think he's interesting. Like you look at the numbers he's put up so far as a rookie, he's been pretty good so far. The Twins don't have Byron Buxton back yet, so the offense definitely not elite. The issue is length, as you alluded to, because his past 5 starts, he has had 87, 75, 74, 89, 58 pitches. That's not super deep, and I think that's enough for it to be a concern. Houck, let's check out the salary here on him, because if it's low enough, I think that you could at least justify some consideration for returns. Okay, so Tanner Houck is 67. Eli Morgan, I believe, is 68. Yeah, 68. So if you were to force me to choose one of those guys, I would say Houck every time. I just think the talent's better with Houck. Same salary. The matchup does favor Morgan, but again, matchups can only do so much. So if you're choosing between Eli Morgan and Tanner Houck, give me Tanner Houck there in that head-to-head. Ian Nev, sorry, I butchered that over on Twitch. S. Watkins Balt. I'm guessing you're asking about if Spencer Watkins should be a consideration for a pitcher tonight. No, I do like stacking against him, though, with the Angels for today. Let's talk to Mateo. Do you like the Arizona lefties or the Giants lefties? Do you like the Giants lefties? Talked to them before. Facing off with McGill. It's kind of risky, Mateo, but I think it's worth the risk for today. A 14-game slate. They should be very popular. Really good offense. So McGill, because he's a good pitcher, makes it risky, but I still think that it's worth some looks there. As far as the Arizona lefties, Diamondbacks facing JT Brubaker. Probably won't get there just because the Diamondbacks are so bad. Brubaker's he's fine. He's pretty competent. So I would say to me, no Diamondbacks for tonight. Let's talk to DJ on Facebook. How would you stack Cleveland, St. Louis, Houston, and either the Dodgers or Astros in one lineup? So if you're asking for rankings of those, okay, so we got the Cardinals facing Casey Mize. Not a great offense, but it's an okay matchup, I would say, against Casey Mize. Cleveland is facing Taylor Hearn. Individual batters on Cleveland are pretty solid, like from Reyes specifically, Jose Ramirez, Ahmed Rosario. It's tough to get to a full stack for them just because they don't have a lot of guys you really want to use. Oscar Mercado's not bad, so maybe you could get to a full stack there via Reyes, Ramirez, Rosario, Mercado. So I like Cleveland more than St. Louis. Houston's facing Brady Singer. They're obviously a very good offense, but they're high salaried for the most part. Singer gets a lot of ground balls, so I'd probably put Cleveland above Houston for today. And then the Dodgers facing I think it's a bullpen game for the Padres for today. So I think they're fine. I would say among those options, DJ, it'd probably be highest on Cleveland. I think that maybe, you can make it work if you decide to go, all right, scroll past them. If you go with like Mercado, you can make that a full stack there. So I think that Cleveland, my favorite among those options. Jerry, how would you play your stacks tonight dealing with the bad pitchers in the slate? There's a lot of offense on the slate. So there are a lot of bad pitchers, but a lot of the bad pitchers are facing bad teams too. Like Jesus Luzardo struggling, but facing a bad team in the Nationals. We've got, let's see here. We got Watkins and Bundy. We can definitely feel good about stacking those teams. Hearn is facing an overall relatively bad offense in Cleveland. So I would say turn to those rougher pitchers for one-offs, Jerry, and try to find some salary saves. Like Lane Thomas, again, I kind of poo-pooed it before, but I think he works. Like using one-offs there, I think that could work. Cleveland, probably not going to save you a lot of salary. I think Rosario's around $3,000 for tonight, but you could potentially turn there for some one-offs to save some salary in order to give yourself more flexibility to get the studs and the stacks that you want. So let's bump out of this here. Let's scroll down to Mercado, and let's pull up his game logs here to see how things have been looking recently for him. I have been an Oscar Mercado fan in the past. Doesn't look like he's shown a lot of upside, but I think he had some okay numbers in AAA before he came back up, if I recall correctly. Let's just pull up Mercado's page here, look at the advanced stats. since he came back and see what he has been looking like and see if we can justify using him as a one-off at $2,400. In the big leagues this year, 287 expected WOBA. That's not ideal. Low strikeout rate, which is good. He is putting the ball in the air, making some hard contact. So it's not a terrible profile. Let's pull up the August numbers here. Strikeout rate, 14%, 092 ISO. Yeah, it's not ideal. Ramos is a guy who got cut. So, like, I know it was because the Tigers had really good dudes, but that's generally, not a super encouraging sign when a dude gets outright released. Let's just look here, see what Ramos has been doing of late. Okay, so we got 6 games since he joined Cleveland. Actually has hit for some power, had a couple of dingers right away. And yeah, he's actually made some hard contact. Okay, that's not terrible. So maybe we do go with Wilson Ramos as a one-off. $2,300, that's not bad. So I would say, Jerry, I would use the bad pitchers facing bad teams in terms of one-offs. Lane Thomas, Wilson Ramos, maybe Oscar Mercado, stuff like that. I think that's something I would check into there. And then use them to get more leverage to get the studs on the other teams you want to stack. Robert on Facebook, what's the status of the state of Arizona sports betting law change? I don't know. I believe good things are coming in September, but that's not an informed opinion, not an informed thing. I don't know. I would check back there, though, or ask someone who might know better. But Robert, hopefully, good things on the horizon for you. Kyle, rank these pitchers: Tyler Mahle, German Marquez, and Madison Bumgarner. No Bumgarner for me. Good matchup for sure, but not enough strikeouts. 17% strikeout rate. He's probably going to go like 7 innings, but I just don't see the upside there, given the lack of strikeouts for Bumgarner. Mahle is facing the Brewers, I believe. Yes, facing the Brewers. Good pitcher. Hasn't been too bad so far this year. This is his past 10 starts with more splitters and stabilized movement. 4.04 skill interactive ERA, 25% strikeout rate. The Brewers do strike out. Not as big of a strikeout game as a strikeout team as they were previously, but they're still fine. We saw Jack Flaherty go off against them last week. He's fine. Marquez facing the Cubs. The reason I'm not higher on Marquez is pitch count. He's gone 76, 81, 83 over his past 3 starts. And the Rockies don't have a lot to play for. Marquez, part of their long-term plans, they might be wanting to save him a bit. So I would still rank Marquez first in that list, followed by Mahle and then Bumgarner. But I think Marquez is number 4 for me overall tonight. So high enough to use for sure, but just keep in mind the pitch count may not be as high as we would like. Let's talk to Savon. Any games to not touch today because of weather? Nope. Looks like we're all good there. I would check with Kevin Roth because, again, he's a meteorologist and I'm not, but I think they all look good earlier on. Savon, thoughts on the batters in the Milwaukee versus Cincinnati game? Hard pass on both sides because both pitchers are very good, so I don't want any of them there. Savon is asking, I like the Yankees again today. What are your thoughts? Facing Charlie Morton? Believe? Or is that tomorrow? Where are the Yankees? There we go. Yeah, facing Charlie Morton. Morton's really good. Hard pass for me there. Let's talk to Savon. Best stacks for single entry. Good question. I would say the Orioles are up there for me because, again, I don't think that they'll be all that popular. They get me some salary savings. I can stack the Orioles with Corbin Burns. So that's kind of my thought process. I'd like to get to Burns for single entry for today. So which stacks can allow me to get there? Let's pull up the Orioles lineup here. Austin Hayes, I want to see his numbers versus righties because he's been platooned. Has shown, I believe, more upside versus lefties, but I don't want to cross him off right away because, he's batting at a good spot in the order for a team we'd like to use. I also want to check out Ramon Arias. He's a guy who's shown, I would say, a surprising amount of power overall so far. Not as much versus righties, though. 118 ISO for Arias versus righties this year. Hayes, 137, but does put the ball in the air at least. Can steal some bags. No DJ Stewart, so that's a bit disappointing, but let's go over here. Let's put Santander in there because he's a superstar. Best hitter on the planet, obviously. And then let's check out the rest of the Orioles lineup here. Okay, so Santander, Massini. Probably going to put Hayes in there anyway. I know that I just talked about how the numbers weren't great, but a little desperate for some salary savings. So we'll put that there. Let's put Ramon Arias in there. And let's put, $2,200. I mean, tough to pass up, despite the power skewing more towards versus lefty than overall. Actually, no, I want Mullins. Sorry. Let's do Mullins. And that gets us to 31.25. Probably make that work. So I would say the Orioles are a really good team to stack for single entry for today. Again, with the mindset of trying to get to Burns or Jack Flaherty. Either one, fully okay by me. Jerry, my favorite stack for today is Boston, San Francisco, the Mets, Houston, Cleveland, Dodgers. But we're going with a 3-2-2-1 stack. What's your thoughts? I would say to always skew towards 4 if you can get there. If you can get a 4-player stack in your lineup, that's always preferable. We had Kenyatta Storm, my colleague at numberFire, did a full piece on the actual data based on, I'm not sure if there was ROI in there, but average scores and stuff like that. And the best stacking combinations are always a 4-player stack. So I try to get a 4-player stack in there, Jerry, maybe like a 4-3-1, something like that, 4-2-2, somewhere in that range. Maybe you go a couple of value plays in the Nationals, like Zimmerman and Thomas, and then 2 value plays somewhere else, and then just load up on your 4-player stack. But I try to get a 4-player stack in there somewhere. Let's talk to Kenneth over on YouTube. How do you feel about Cleveland versus Washington for GPP to get high in pitching? I probably prefer the Nats just because the salary savings are so high there. Like, I think Cleveland's a better overall situation because they have more competent guys, but if I'm trying to get to Burns, and that's my sole goal, which, and Kenneth, you're talking about spending for pitching, I think that the combination of Kai Boom, Zimmerman, and Lane Thomas is going to do a lot for you in that regard. So if you do that 3-player stack with Burns, then do like a one-off somewhere else. Let's go Arias. If we do that, $3,500 left, that makes it a lot easier. I mean, again, I think that Wilson Ramos works for sure. Mercado's in play if you're trying to save some salary with Cleveland. But I think between the two, probably skewing towards Washington, because that does give you a lot of flexibility in terms of trying to get to Corbin Burns and stacking one of the stud teams elsewhere. Savon is asking for thoughts in St. Louis. Good matchup for them for sure against Casey Mize, but they're not a great team. And I kind of feel like I need to stack St. Louis more so in situations where they are like in a really, really good matchup, whereas this one's just okay. They're just not very good. They also aren't super low salaried. At least they weren't last I remember. Yeah, that's pretty rough. They're not really going to move the needle for you a whole lot. So they're fine. I'm not a huge fan. Let's go. Let's talk to Ian Nev over on Twitch. Angels stack? Yes, I do think the Angels are a good stack for today. Let's see if their lineup is out yet, because they actually do have some salary savers. Problem is Shohei Ohtani, not one of them, but we can pull up Upton. We can go with Stassi. And then Jared Walsh has not been hitting the ball well since he came back from the IL, but if we're trying to stack the Angels and get some salary savings, he does still work there. So 29.60 left is not going to move the needle a ton, but I still think that these are guys you could turn to within an Angels stack while trying to get to Burns. Let's talk to Salvatore. Dylan Cease as pitcher or Blue Jays as a stack? Neither. Really tough matchup for Dylan Cease, so I don't want to go there. And Cease is a great pitcher, just doesn't let up balls in play. So neither from me on a 14-game slate. Jerry says it's tough to make a full stack because of all the offenses and matches tonight. Yeah, it is tough. It is. I think it's tougher for me because I want to spend up a pitcher and I want to use a high salaried stack. That's why it's tough for me, but I agree. The sentiment overall, it is tough for sure. Let's talk to Danny. Who is your value pitcher tonight? So if I had to pick someone like low salary, it depends on your definition of value, but because they're only like $700 difference, I'm okay saying German Marquez over Luis Garcia here. Marquez, $9,000, really good matchup, really good pitcher too. So the pitch count concerns are big. That's why I'm not going to put him above Jack Flaherty, not going to put him above Charlie Morton, not going to put him above Corbin Burns, but I think number 4, Marquez works. Number 5 for me is Luis Garcia, $8,300. Just faced the Royals last week and didn't get a lot of strikeouts, but did get a lot of whiffs. 17% swinging strike rate in that game. So to me, the two value guys, depending where you draw that line, I would say are Marquez and Garcia in that order for today. Let's talk to DJ. Do you like Dylan Bundy against his former team, the Orioles? No, I like the Orioles against Dylan Bundy because Bundy's really struggled since he came back in the rotation. Struggled before he got booted as well, obviously. So I like the Orioles in terms of stacks. A reverse revenge game for today. Okay, here are DJ's home run calls over on Facebook. Home run calls: Nick Castellanos, Rafael Ortega, Jesus Sanchez, and Dalton Varsho and Cedric Mullins. Thoughts? Varsho been really good recently. A big fan. He's a Wisconsin guy, so Midwesterner. Always like that. Mullins, I think, is my favorite guy from that group. I love Cedric Mullins as a player. I think that he's in a good spot tonight, so give me Mullins in that group. Let's talk to Renee. Thoughts on Garcia, pitcher for large field tournaments? Yeah, I think that he's pretty solid. The one reservation I have in terms of like a large field tournament is you kind of need to have the highest scoring pitcher on the slate in a large field tournament, and I'm not sure you can get there just because the pitch count's pretty muted. He has not gone 90 pitches since June 30th, facing the Royals. They're not a big strikeout team, so in a large field tournament, I feel like I'd rather go get up to Marquez, but I think that like if you're looking for a solid output at a low salary, Garcia can do that. So I do think that he is viable for tonight, but he's my 5th ranked pitcher because I do think that there are some things capping his ceiling a bit. Salvatore on YouTube likes Ryan Mountcastle for a home run for tonight. Okay, I like that. We do, in general, like the Orioles. Mountcastle, big fly ball guy, good power numbers. I like it. I dig it, Salvatore. I am on board. Let's talk to Matthew. How do you like this Angel stack? Walsh, Ohtani, Fletcher, and Marsh. I can replace Marsh with Stanton if you don't like him. Let's go over here and check out, see if the Angels lineup is in yet. Okay, there we go. Marsh batting 7th. Stassi batting 6th. That's kind of lower than I was hoping it would be. Joe Adell batting 8th. So let's check out I don't like Fletcher in general because he's a pretty low upside guy. But let's pull up the Angels numbers here and see what these non-Ohtani, non-Upton. Is Upton out of the lineup? Boo. That's annoying. Didn't realize that. Okay, so no Justin Upton for today. Alas. All right. So let's pull up these numbers here for the Angels. Fletcher can get stolen bases, but I want some more power out of my guys, so he's a tougher sell for me. Stassi, still, I know he's batting 6th, but I do still like him. Pretty decent amount. Marsh in a small sample of 90 plate appearances, 141 ISO. That's not nothing. That's definitely at least worth mentioning, I would say. I would say Marsh is pretty solid, Matthew, and I'd be okay leaving him in that stack. What's his salary? Let's go back over here and check out Marsh. He is $2,500. Okay, I like that. I think that definitely works. He's batting 7th, not super high in the lineup, but that's also okay. So I think if I had to do, let's check out Goslin too. I glossed over him. Goslin versus a righty, a 110 ISO. Ugh. Okay, so optimal Angel stack is Ohtani. So I'm going to put Stassi in there. I'm going to put Walsh in there too, despite the fact that, again, the numbers have not been great since he came back. And then the 4th guy in the stack for me would be Marsh. So that would be the optimal Angel stack for me. If you can't get to Ohtani, it's okay. I get it. But I'd like to get him in there. He's like the one really competent guy in that lineup. I'll talk to Jerry. Sonic Rings, Call Freeman, Bogarts, and Iglesias. Okay. Freddie Freeman versus a lefty. I like it, Jerry. Again, he hit for the cycle last time, so I get it. Keith says, ride with the Yankees for tonight. I think that Morton's in play as a pitcher. You're probably talking more betting, but I think Morton's in play as a pitcher because they lose a DH for tonight. I haven't seen their lineup yet to see if they decided to sit there. Let's see. No Yankees yet. But they do lose the DH. That's definitely a downgrade for sure. And I like Morton. I think he's a good pitcher. So I like Morton for tonight, but that's bit me before. Renee says, Thomas batting first, minimum salary. Lane Thomas for the Nationals. Yes, I think that he is a fine one-off. Not the highest upside guy, but hey, we need salary savings. He's batting leadoff. Good matchup. I think that's enough, Renee. I am on board with that. Michael, what do you think of a Rockies as a low-salaried stack, hot and humid, wind blowing out in Wrigley? I considered it because Steele's not like a shutdown pitcher by any means. It's just really hard for me to talk myself into the Rockies in the road. But let's pull up the salaries here, because part of it is it's not just because they play terribly on the road. It's also because their salaries are inflated by where they play their home games. And that's true here too. So I could see Rogers as a one-off, Diaz as a one-off, maybe Hansen as a one-off. Taylor Motter's back. Oh boy. It's been a hot second since I heard that name. Yeah, I would say that you could get some one-offs there, Michael. Probably would not go full stack just because the team is not that great. Savon, best offense for today, I would say Red Sox number 1 straight up against Griffin Jacks. Think that they're solid. Kenneth likes Soto or Franmil Reyes for age, or he's asking about them for a GPP. I like both, Kenneth, I would say, but my preference is for Franmil Reyes. I just think that the power upside there, really good, and feel better about his overall team if I'm just like not considering other pieces. So Franmil Reyes over Soto, but Kenneth, I do like both. DJ's asking stack Washington. I don't know. We'll see. I think I'll wind up getting there. Do I want to go there? No. I guess that's kind of the dilemma for sure. DJ is that Kai Boom? Yeah. Okay. Salvatore, which pitchers do you think will be needed to win the squeeze? So look, talking about a big field tournament, I think for me, you just want to maximize points in that situation. And that to me says get to Corbin Burnes. I think that he is a guy with the best overall profile for today. So I would say if I am playing a large field tournament and have one dart, give me Corbin Burnes there. Danny says, glad you're back. Nice podcast. Thank you, Danny. Also, thank you to Tom Vecchio for covering for me on Friday and Monday. Tom does a great job. Follow Tom on Twitter at DFS_Tom. He is tremendous, and I'm looking forward to having him back on here in the very near future. And final one here. Let's talk to Matthew on YouTube. Thoughts on Tyler Mahle tonight? Probably under rostered. I think that he'd probably be like 6th. So I was ranking out pitchers before. I would say it is, sorry, I know I'm going over, but I would say Burnes, Flaherty, Morton, Marquez, Garcia, Mahle. And like 6 is high enough to be considered, Matthew, because like he can get some strikeouts. They let him go pretty deep into games. It's an important game for the Reds too. So I don't think he's out of consideration. I didn't get there because he's on the road facing a team that's been getting better recently. He's had some shaky starts. So I didn't get there personally, but I think that 6th on a 28 pitcher slate is high enough to be considered. So Matthew, if your process drew towards Mahle, I can get behind that. I probably won't get there personally, but I do get it, and I don't think it's a bad play, but I think it's a solid play for sure. So those are my thoughts on Tyler Mahle. That is all that we have here for today on the FanDuel Live Q&A. But as mentioned, we are back here once again tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter pages. Brandon Gadula is going to swing by and talk about the BMW Championship from a PGA DFS and betting perspective. I'll come by at 4 p.m. to talk some MLB DFS as well. If you have any questions for me, I am on Twitter at Jim Sannes, JimSannes. Big thank you to Joy Affleck, our video producer, for running the video side of things here today. Thank you, Joy, as always. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck to you tonight on this Dinger Tuesday. We'll talk to you once again tomorrow. This has been the FanDuel Live Q&A.